Cheapest is best, lowest price wins. These are the phrases we associate with construction, not just in the GCC, but around the world. And these are the phrases that are also signify the problems that are built into the construction industry. If you bid low to win, you then have to make back your profit on claims and variations, and it leads into a culture of cutthroat bidding and then dispute with client and contractor. But at the heart of it, the matter, construction is all about investment in projects. In real estate developers are investing in property, or governments are investing in public services. And the return on investment is all about getting your project delivered on time and on budget. And as long as we have these issues around cheapest is best and lowest price wins, we're going to erode the value from construction. So today's MEED Live webinar, we're going to focus on driving better value in construction. This isn't just a Middle East problem for the construction industry, it's a global problem for the construction industry. But nowhere else in the world is investing so much, so quickly, over such a short space of time to build the future economic model as this region. So we have a panel of experts from across the GCC construction industry who are going to talk about how we can deliver a better construction performance, how we can improve efficiency, how we can improve productivity. And I invite all of you to take part in this conversation. It's a very, very important discussion. We can try and identify the next steps for the industry and the way forward. So please use the screens in front of you to send in your questions, and I will put them to the panelists. We will go around the panelists first. I will introduce each of them to you. So on my far right, we have Ali Ozak. Ali, you are the Abu Dhabi Area Director for
Correct,
TAV Construction, one of the best known contractors.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, my company is TAV Construction, and we are the biggest airport builders in the world, according to the ENR, for the last 3 years. And we are also in the region for a long time, and not only airports, we are building some high-rises and some different type of buildings.
Most recently, you've been very successful in Saudi Arabia with the PPP
Correct,
airport project. So I will come back to you in a moment to kick off the conversation. Next to Ali, we have Francis Alfred. You are the Chief Executive Officer of Sobha Group. So you are a real estate developer based here in the UAE?
Absolutely. We are a real estate developer. We have presence in Middle East for the last 42 years. Started off in Oman and then back in Dubai. We have a large real estate presence in India. The company portfolio is around 90 million square feet of real estate space built in the last 22 years. So we have very good, very large flagship projects in Dubai and then.
And I guess from my original point about return on investment, you are the guy sitting in the hot seat. You need the construction projects delivered on time, on budget, so you can start driving your investment.
We are a very unique model. We have a very unique model. We drive the value into the project. So we are very clear as we have this backward integrated real estate construction model where we are the developer, also the contractor, and that's the design and build contractor.
So we'll get into this in a lot more detail in the conversation. Welcome to MEED Live. Thank you. On my left, we have Iyad Sabouni. You are the Vice President for the Middle East for AECOM, one of the world's great multidisciplinary consultants. Welcome.
Thank you very much. AECOM is a multidisciplinary company. We're around 4,000 in the Middle East, working on a very big project.
Engineers, architects,
cost consultant, project management, you name it. I mean, and we're very much in every piece of the construction market, so hopefully we have a good insights today.
Excellent, thank you. And then last but not least, we have Zain Qureshi. You are the Managing Director for Real Estate Finance and Advisory at Mashrek. Now, Mashrek is our partner on this series of videos. And so tell us a little bit, why is Mashrek so interested in construction and real estate?
Because obviously, number one, percentage of GDP in terms of real estate is fairly significant. Number two, we are a major debt and advisory provider to real estate related investments and activities within the GCC.
Okay, thank you. Well, welcome everybody. So the purposes of this conversation today are about how do we improve construction and project delivery in the UAE. Please get involved with your comments, whether it's digitalization, whether it's form of contracts, whether it's BIM, whether it's the design and build. Please send in your comments and we shall try and discuss them. Ali, I'd like to start the conversation with you then. Can you perhaps describe where where the construction industry is today. What is the state of the market
Okay.
in terms of efficiency?
Sure. Thanks, Richard. So I think we are almost using the same methodology of construction for the last 50 years. So I think this is not a good indication. If you compare with the other industries, okay, we are, I think, very slow to adapt the technology.
So from your, if you were to write 3 problems with construction today, productivity is not good enough, lack of skills, and adoption of technology. Those are the sort of 3
I want
headlines.
to add one more, please, okay, about the contracts, okay, that we are dealing in the region.
Okay, so risk allocation,
Yes, correct.
what the contractor is asked to do, etc. Okay, so those will be the 4 headings, I think, for the conversation. If I can come to you, Iyad, on the consultancy side. So we started with the contractor, we come to the consultant. How healthy is our construction process? You know, what is the state of the market?
I mean, I just can add to Ali because our business is very interrelated. We design, they build, and almost we see the same symptoms. I mean, the symptoms, there is work, productivity is not the best, and the industry itself didn't develop. I mean, I'm talking from a consultancy point of view right now. It didn't develop the way you see manufacturing industry developing. It's moving, but not in the right pace. And basically,
Why is that, do you think? Because we hear about digitalization and the Internet of Things and big data and all of the things that are changing everybody's lives. And within construction, I hear about BIM technology or virtual twins, in the cloud.
Yeah.
So it's all there. Why are we not moving at the same pace? What's the problem?
Well, I mean, the main problem of not moving in the same pace is the industry itself. The industry itself is still very labor focused. I mean, we can move back quickly that we used to draw by hand, then we moved to draw by CAD, then we moved to draw by, and now we're moving to BIM as we go, and we're using drones and we're using this, but it's still, we didn't have the move like autonomous vehicle. We don't have the Uber revolution in the industry yet. Which is,
do you think
which is something, I mean, which is something scary for us because, I mean, within AECOM and within the industry, every time we meet, we say, okay, that should come. It will come. And
so in construction terms, you're putting a lot of money up front to get something delivered against a very tight program. To take a risk on drones or BIM or some new technology, you don't know what's going to happen, and that could have quite a damaging consequence. Is the root of the problem this focus on cost?
It's the focus on cost and the lack of investment. I go back to high point. I mean, there is a lack of customization. I mean, there's a lot of commercial product out in the market, but customized to our industry is not there yet. I mean, the IT, the technology, and I go back to his point about the HR development. I mean, that's the biggest issue we have right now, is how we can develop the workers we have to use the technology in the market, customize it to the best of the industry.
So that goes to Ali's point about skills,
exactly,
and the new skills. Zain, if I can come to you, so you're coming at the industry from a financier's point of view, so quite different. Why do you care about the quality of the construction process? Does it affect you?
It does, significantly. Project viability, repayment capabilities are of extreme importance to banks, especially as we move within the GCC from pure corporate lending to project lending. Those could be non-recourse, those could be different structures within. What we are seeing in the construction industry and what we have seen for some time, which is fairly alarming, is faster and cheaper. The long-term sustainability of projects is not being considered when these particular buildings or projects are being put up. And that comes to harm us when we go ahead and lend to a developer such as Sobha, where we are waiting for the project's cash flows to repay us. So that's our key concern at this moment in time.
So you're saying you're seeing faster and cheaper attitude. Is that because the banks or the lenders are pressuring the borrowers, the real estate companies, and it squeezes the whole process, or is it something else? Where's this faster and cheaper thing coming?
I think the construction industry to a large extent has 3 key issues, and I completely agree with Ali and Iyad, but in addition to that, I think the level of bidding is so severe, number one. Number 2 is...
Can I just add, do you think that is in this region at the moment because of oil prices over the past 3 years, because of cash flow concerns, people just want to win work, so the bidding's becoming tougher, or is this just a kind of
It's one of the
a
reasons.
structural problem?
One of the reasons, but I think it's been there for a period of time now.
But I think
it has been the philosophy, as you may call it. Please go ahead.
Sure, but I think during the boom time, the industry built up to the boom level, and when the market slowed down back to the oil price and everything, everybody's trying to secure and keep going. So that reflects on the bidding very tough.
Okay.
The other thing I want to talk about is the level of automation. If you compare the construction or the contracting industry and compare it to the other industries, it's far behind. And, you know, we talk about the BIMs of the world, we talk about the drones coming in and helping with the surveying of the land, but it's still way behind the other industries that we have looked at. The third point are the payment terms. Payments to contractors are slow. They're far slower, again, in relation to other industries. I mean, we're looking at averages of approximately 120 days, where if you look at other industries, you're talking about a 30, 35, 40-day period. So those are, you know, key concerns for us as a financier.
Okay, so thank you, gentlemen. I'm going to come to you, Shobha. The reason I have kept you last in the sequence is because in these conversations, often it comes down to the client. The client is the one with the money. The client is the paymaster and can set the framework for a project, define the contract, etc. You know, what is it that drives you when you're looking, and you touched on this just a moment ago, when you're looking to secure a contractor or a project, deliver a project, it's all about getting the lowest possible price you can, or, you know, what do you look for?
I think that's one of the trends in the industry and in the market. But then when it comes to Sobha, we have a very unique model where we have mitigated this risk. Like we are a real estate player, and we want the value for our product. Like, and we have put a value which we feel is the right thing for the product. And we realize that there is a girth of contractors who will be able to produce the same call, because there's a severe competition between contractors and undercutting the price. So we formed a contracting model where the design and build contracting model.
So you only use design and build?
We only use design and build contracting model, and that also is an in-house team at the moment for our projects, and this has been how we're practicing in our projects back in wherever we operated. The benefit what comes is the risk and the opportunity lies with the design and build team. And as a customer, as a client, we are prepared to spend the money for the value what we are expecting.
So Sobha Group, you're a real estate developer, but you said you keep it in-house, so you have a contracting arm.
We have,
and you do the design and build within
and
that.
the design and build.
If you go out to the market for an outside contractor, if you ever do that, do you also do design and build in those models?
I would say the other way around. Like, now we as a design and build contractor has executed projects for some clients. But then that's when the client realizes that there's a value which comes with such contractors with the capability of design and build and providing high quality service.
So this is going to be difficult for you to answer neutrally, because you'd be talking about your own company's contractor, but do you think the construction industry needs to improve generally in the region? You know, these issues about productivity or investment in technology.
I would totally agree to this, and I would agree to what Ali and Iyad and Hussain has been mentioning, that there is a serious issue when it comes to contracting and construction business, because there is lack of talent, lack of skill, and technology has actually not penetrated this industry. And we have been trying to find solution to this, and one of the aspects again we get benefited is that our budgets are fixed. The contractor has certain flexibility to go and operate within the budget. We have realized that this has to be addressed, and we started addressing it, and we are reaping the benefit of it. Like, now, so we as a design build contractor and as a client, we started benefiting from the investments what we are making.
And where does the consultant fit into the conversation? If you are a real estate developer or even a government client, how much influence do you have as the designer on the contract model or the construction selection?
I mean, we have a very good influence on that. But I mean, just before we go out talk about the contract model, we have a lot of impact on the price, on the fees, on the construction cost. I mean, right now with all the circumstances around us right now, I mean, us in AECOM and I think other parties of the industry, we're rethinking the whole process. The process of designing 10 years ago doesn't work anymore right now. I mean, we have to go.
Why not? What is different?
I mean, right now, I mean, we're adapting a few things. I mean, off-site manufacturing have to come more often. I mean, design, because most of the contract we sign have a design to budget clause, and the design to budget clause with the tight budget push us to be very innovative. I mean, few things to think of: off-site manufacturing, repetition, modular, constructability, performance specs, no customized specs to certain supplier. All those drive the cost down, and then of course the client come back to us when the contract is there, and we advise the client on the amount of risk we think he should take.
So Ali's first. Sorry, Ali.
So I just want to add on this issue. I think the proper planning and design before the contract award is a very critical component of successful delivery of project. I think this is already proven in this region for many times. So I fully agree with my friends. Okay, so the design and build is one of the solutions, okay, for what we are having difficulties currently in the market. However, it has to be also the risk in this kind of contract should be balanced. Okay, definitely. And
what do you mean by that? So if you're signing
it's not
to
only every time. I'm representing contractors today, so I want to talk on behalf of the contractors in the region. So unfortunately, the contract that we are signing today is very strict and very, very difficult to manage. Okay, and as a contractor, you are taking almost full risk in your shoulders. Okay, and unfortunately, you have to push this risk into your subcontractors and suppliers, which is not healthy situation. Okay, and then some innovative contract types should be introduced to the market. Okay, like design and build is one, like PPP BOT, which I will give a very interesting example to you now. Okay, and also early contractor involvement. Okay, a contractor can involve in the employer. Okay, early stages before award, you make a cap, and then you work on it. Then we are the doers on site, so we know the details. So we can bring some ideas to bring the cost down, some value engineering proposals, and all this. For the BOT, I will give one example to you. In 2006, we started 2 projects at the same time. One is in Turkey, which my company is based, and the other is in the region, not UAE, but in the region. So one is, the Turkish one was a BOT project, okay? And the one is the normal procurement contract.
And these are airports?
Airports, both airports, okay? Similar size, okay? The one which is BOT, we finished in 2 years, and after 2 years, we start operation.
Wow.
Okay?
And is that, sorry.
And then the other one that was in the region, unfortunately, we finished in almost 5 years' time, okay? So you will ask me why, what's the difference?
Yeah, exactly. Is it because it was BOT?
It was BOT, definitely, because the benefit of the BOT that we brought to the project is one, the finance is pre-arranged. Okay, we invest from our, let's say, own resources, and then we have lenders that supporting us, like the banks. Okay, so and then we design and we build. Okay,
and you also operate. Presumably, you have the life.
We have to operate properly because this is our investment. We have to make money. You have to do everything correct to make money for this 5 years of operation. So this model worked properly, and there's a very good example also, like we mentioned before, in Medina. Okay, the project that we have built in the BOT project, a successful project. And
the other project that you just mentioned, the airport that was in the region that took 5 years and that was not a BOT, what sort of contract was that?
This was a typical.
So you had a contractor over here, a designer over here,
correct.
A client.
Contractor, client, contractor, designer, and other parties.
And so what did that mean when you had the BOT contract in the first airport, 2 years? You were the ultimate operator, and your revenue returns would come from getting the thing running. So how did you change your processes as a contractor? What did you do differently to get you over the line on?
First of all, I think one of the main important issues in these projects is capturing the stakeholder requirements in the early stage. Okay, you should know what the end user is expected. Okay, from day one. Okay, because the early you highlight this one, it's cheaper for you and it's manageable. The later is expensive and it's difficult to manage.
So if you're one of the opportunities with BOT or design and build is that you can avoid variations and design
Definitely,
changes.
I would like to challenge Ali for a second
Yeah,
here.
sure.
Just a little bit. I mean, because we go back that the contracts are not balanced. You know, they're not balanced. But we see, I mean, and it's back to our initial discussion, that there's too much competition, and we see contractors signing to terms that they should never, in our mind, they should never sign for. Payment after 6 months, bonds, retention, penalties, But my view, it's supply and demand, because if contractors start saying, well, okay, we see contractors signing on those terms and disappearing in the market. So one disappear, second disappear, third disappear. If there's two left, then a balanced version can come. But so far, what we're seeing is there's a lot of what we call it a suicidal jumps from contractors taking terms that they should not take.
So taking on too much risk.
Exactly. So I mean, I go back to you now and I say, well, why?
Don't sign.
Well, I mean, why?
Well, isn't that based on competition? That
Yeah. Because
the severity of
if you don't,
if you don't,
Somebody else will
disappear.
then you will be disappear from the market. If you sign, you have to manage this risk. I think the more important problem is not only for the contractor, the subcontractor and supply chain.
Because
It
you
goes
push down.
everywhere.
True.
Okay, the chain effect.
Can I just, if I can come and say,
So, yeah, go ahead.
carry on.
No, I just want to ask about, you raised a very pertinent point. I just wanted you to emphasize a bit more on that, was value engineering. And is that something which is extremely active in this part of the world? in terms-
Especially in the project that we are designing and building. Okay, so we look not only for the cost saving. Okay,
Yes.
operationally, is it durable material that we are using? Will it last 20 years, 25? Because this is important for us. The capex is important, but OPEX is bigger than capex. Okay, so
Very true.
From a financier point of view, if a design and build operator like TAV comes to you and says they obviously need to borrow a bigger amount of money because they're taking on more risk, are you more comfortable with that or less comfortable?
I am more comfortable with that, and the reason why I'm more comfortable with it is just the example Ali raised in terms of the completion of those two projects based on the contracts that they had signed up to. So obviously the level of responsibility that Ali is taking as a contractor is far higher. Hence the level of involvement is far higher. The proactiveness of managing the project within the cost estimates is far better. So yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And similarly, as a client, like since we have been doing this design and build for quite some time, and then we have found that we have a very assured quality, we have an assured price and a timely delivery, and this has been one of the key issues for the cost escalation and all time escalation in the industry. Contractors typically bleed because of time escalations and in the BOT model or in a design and build model, the risk is almost everything is in the contractor's hand.
If it's a bit of a no-brainer, from what we've talked about here, there's no question everything should be design and build and PPP. Why doesn't everyone do it? What there must be negatives.
Yeah, there are negatives, but then you're putting all your risk in one basket. Like you don't have anybody to challenge the design or anybody to challenge this one. So I think it is possible where there is a long-term relationship between a client and the contractor when they know each other and there's a trust between the relation and again I was coming back to where Iyad was just mentioning, why do contractors go and sign it? Actually the client realizes himself that I'm getting into a contract which is not workable for the contractor.
Exactly.
The client himself knows that how could the contractor sustain in this market when we are not even having a real possible cash flow and the client pushes it. So somewhere it is not just a contractor alone which is the problem. It is a whole.
But I see a bit of, I mean, from a client point of view, if a client, and I know the contractor would struggle with his cash flow, I see a bit of, that the client should not push that much because his job will stop 2/3 and then, the client would end up paying more.
Absolutely. That's invariably happening in most of the projects, what's happening going around.
Yeah, but I want to underline the lowest bid, it doesn't mean the cheapest. I think it's proven many times. Okay, we all know it. So, because you should be realistic on the price. Is this really a realistic price to finish this job or not? Because
So why do people go for lowest? I mean, if we all know this, and that you save money up front, but the longer term costs are greater. Why do we always go back? We hear about cheapest is best and lowest price win. Is it because ultimately they have to make a decision on the basis of something.
Each company have a strategy. I mean, some companies, they know a big job coming in 1 year, they need to buy a job now. So they go in and they they go dive low because they know something happening in 6 months.
Okay.
Some other companies, it's a cash flow issue.
Okay.
Some companies, it's a stock price thing. They have to show a backlog.
So
I mean,
there are
it's
outside factors.
Yeah.
And for some companies also the brand. You know, if you don't have a sustainable project, 5, 7, 10 years down the line, that particular brand would not look good. So are they really looking to grow their brand, or are they looking to emphasize on profits and walk away with that?
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
like
This
you are
is
rightly
a very
says.
Well,
difficult question to reply actually, because if we don't get new jobs, okay, then you cannot survive in the market. However, I think today what we are discussing, how we can improve this
Exactly.
not to happen again and again.
So
yeah.
what we're agreeing is that there are definite routes forward, but there are some structural problems that we can't fix on our own. Now I have a question here. Iyad, I'll come to you first. It touches on what we've been talking about. What does the panel think of early contractor involvement and its benefit in influencing building value? So sort of what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
You think this is essential?
It's very essential, especially for the big jobs, and that's a model we encourage the client always to do. But the challenge is how transparent that can be, because some people say, well, why I'm not invited? Why only those two invited? Why do they get more intelligence about the job than the others? And they go complain, and especially if it's a government jobs, that's very complicated. I mean, early contractor engagement government jobs is close to impossible. But with private and semi-private, we see them open to that, however, with the very strict rules that they don't give privilege to one contractor over the industry.
So with the government being the major driver of projects in this region, then
It's not,
the government
we don't
needs
see it.
Okay, so this idea of getting contractors in
Yeah.
early, we have to go to some of these government clients and persuade them.
Exactly.
Okay,
Well,
and
Richard, sorry, we don't have to follow a strict contract type. Okay, there is a PPP, design and build, and early contractor involvement, FIDIC, and others. There can be a special contract for this region. Okay, it happened before, right? In other.
And where will
So-
that come from? How do we create
No,
that?
this is because
Government.
if we are able to see the problems like we are discussing now, okay, and the experts in this industry, okay, like we are all sitting here, then can introduce, okay, some innovative contract type suitable for the region.
This should come from, in our mind, this should come from regulators, government regulators. They're the one.
Correct.
I mean, of course, we're suffering and we're gaining out of the industry. But if improving productivity reflects very much back to the economy at the end of the day.
So who would own that? So we're sitting here in the UAE, huge project investment program over many years, and you have some very big, very mature project clients, the RTA or the DIWA or Adwiya in Abu Dhabi, lots and lots of them. Does each one of those have to drive this, or does it come from the Ministry of Economy or the Ministry of Finance? Where does this contract form
I mean,
come from?
it's different, Richard, from a city to city. We see RTA as a main driver in Dubai right now, but I mean, in other parts of the world, you see the syndicate of contractors. They're efficient, strong. We don't see it as obvious here. So I mean, if you ask me, I would say
could banks lead this? Because obviously, there is a banking federation that talks to the government, and you're lending into the project sector.
It could do it in tandem, but I think the technicalities and the skills that are required do require the right government entities to come in and ensure that this makes sense.
Okay.
But in addition to the question asked, I think there are a couple of other elements which are extremely important. I mean, digitalization, which Ali referred to, is of extreme importance too. Managing the entire process is of extreme importance, because if the suppliers are coming into the project beforehand, they can potentially produce products, hence solutions, which the guys can use, the projectors can use.
So you're talking about supply chain management and bringing your suppliers in earlier, and we see that in the oil and gas industry. Someone like Saudi Aramco or something.
Exactly.
They're very and ADNOC has just restructured in Abu Dhabi to have more integrated supply chain. Do we see that anywhere in construction? Yeah, do you see that as an opportunity here, or maybe with the BOT PPP programs?
I think we discuss about the technology and how we adapt I think there should be more investment and focus on research and development in the construction industry. Okay. So this is one of the lacking point at the moment.
And
So
what do you mean by
resource
restructuring
and
development?
resource and R&D investment should be more and more. Okay.
Okay.
More on advanced materials. Okay. Equipment, like we discussed about the prefabrication. Okay. So we.
So if I can put you on the spot then, so TAV is one of the biggest contractors probably in the world, but certainly in the region. You do all these PPP projects, you do the design and build and operation. Do you have an R&D budget for, and I'm not picking on TAV, but you're a good example of a leading player. How much do you invest in materials technology?
We are heavily investing now in the BIM, okay,
Right.
building information modeling, which we are currently using in one of the largest projects in the UAE, okay, and we have almost 40-45 BIM engineers working for the project, engineers, not travelers. And also in our headquarters, we are all investing on the building information modeling, because we believe this is a very important part, and now we don't maybe feel the full positive side of the BIM, but I think every day is developing by itself.
And Sobha, do you as a group invest in materials technology or BIM?
Very much. I think when we say value, like as a developer, we look at value for our products and we want to enhance the value. We need to spend a certain budget for that, and we allocate that budget and we fully spend that money. We do, it's not like that we saved a few percentage out of that. Coming to the technology, so what we have done is our design and build contractor, we have transferred this risk to them to innovate and come with alternate ideas, technologies and methodologies. And we have been successfully able to do a lot of right investments, like we invested in the BIM quite some time back, and then we could reap some benefits out of it.
And does investing in BIM, does that mean you made a strategic decision to use BIM products and so you buy them, or do you actually invest in the development of
we have enforced our contractor, design and build contractors to implement BIM in their projects, and we just helped them save some money over the course of time. Again, similarly on the right construction technologies, our own construction wing have been investing in skill development, training, the construction technologies, prefabrication, all of it, and the benefits start coming. It takes a while, but then the early you move into it, the benefit comes. It took us almost a couple of years to start realizing the entire benefit of it, but then now as a client, some of it is getting transferred back.
Okay, so you've mentioned technology and skills. I'm going to stay focused on technology for the moment, and then we can come back to the skills question, because I think that's important. So AECOM, you use BIM extensively, I guess, as a leading consultant. What difference does it make? I hear a lot about BIM.
Sure.
Is it taking over, transforming the industry?
Well, it is, but I go back to my colleagues here, because now in AECOM we're looking what's after BIM. BIM, 5 years ago, we took a decision here that everything have to be in BIM. And right now we're saying, okay, what's next? So we're moving from BIM 3D to BIM 4D to BIM 5D.
What is BIM 4D?
Once you start linking the cost and the time with the model, so every time you change a
So
design,
project management
the cost plan change and everything.
And what is 5D?
And 5 is the time.
Okay, I see.
So you link it with the schedule, you link it with the BIM
time and maintenance, O&M,
with the budget. But
and is this all in the cloud? Is it now cloud-based models we're talking about, or is it on
both?
situ?
There's the server and there's the cloud thing. But what I would like to go back one step, and I would talk about the culture. Right now our biggest challenge as an industry, I think, the culture. Like in AECOM right now, we run what we call the innovation challenge, the global innovation challenge, where we challenge our 85,000 people to come with new ideas that can change the industry. And we come with a price, and then we take 10, and then we invest money in them, and then we go partner with Google, we partner with the IBM, because we think some companies have a different nature of thinking than our industry. So we realized that, and we go back to Google, IBM said, we want to improve our industry. We have 10 ideas, come from 85,000 people. What can we do with them?
So
how can this get pushed?
This week in this month in the UAE, it's Innovation Month. So UAE has an innovation strategy, and as a country, they want to develop a culture of change and innovation. So it's that same thinking, that sort of breaking down old thinking.
On a global level. So we would try to make it top ideas on a global level, then we push it back to our markets. What can be implemented of 10 ideas in the Middle East? We go meet RTA, we go meet the ministries, and we say, we came up with this idea, how much you think your project can benefit out of it.
And what happens next? So if you come up with an idea, say it's a BIM-related idea or something, I don't know, and you go to a project sponsor, what happens next?
Well, I mean, a lot of government entities hired us 3.5 years ago to build their BIM regulation. They say, okay, you guys have been ahead, come and help us build our regulation so we can push back to the industry. I mean, it all go back, Richard, to a very basic point, which I think apply on everything globally. It's the value. I mean, how much you can create a value for your company, for your market, for your project that can differentiate you. I mean, it's a tough market out there. I mean, unless you can come with something cheaper, better, faster, different type of quality, different type of thing, then we're all going to end up being in a commodity business.
So we need to change cheapest is best to value is best.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That can be our new slogan.
Exactly.
Yes.
And using the right processes to reduce those rather than just having a bidding war for people to win contracts.
Okay, now we've got a lot of questions. Thank you very much for the questions that you've sent in. Keep them coming. We have 20 minutes remaining on this discussion, so I'm going to go through them in no particular order. So we have a question from a bank here. We've recently noticed in some project contracts that the paymasters resort to direct payments to subcontractors instead of through the main contractor. Is this, so I don't know if we're going to be able to answer this, is this permitted under the contract norms, especially when such contracts are assigned to banks? So I don't know anything about this. Zain, isn't something?
If contracts, this is where we have come to the contracts again. Okay, so it's partly allowed that the client can directly pay the subcontractor if the main contractor is not doing their duty properly. Okay, so there is some contract clause based on this one.
But why would they do that? Just because they're worried about the subcontractors walking off the job or something? Or?
Most probably, or they want to make sure that the money that the client is paying to main contractor is going to the right sources. Okay, and in the contract that we are signing, the client has all rights to investigate this one. I'm not sure about this example, but I just want to talk about a little bit more on the contracts. Okay, what's the problem? Because one of the major problems in this construction industry in the region, especially in the Middle East, is the strictness of the contract, like we discussed. And specifically, when I will give a touch to my friend in the Mashreq, because about the bonds, on-demand bonds.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you investigate this issue, I think there is no logical approach at the moment to ask from main contractor an on-demand bond. Okay, like a performance bond, advance payment bond, retention bond, where I have to do the same. Go back to my subcontractors, please. It's back-to-back contract. Unfortunately, you have to provide with this. Then, as bank, okay, you are increasing your risk, okay,
right.
And then you will be having difficulty to help to other contractors maybe performing in other projects.
Very, very true.
So I think this is one of the topics that we have to bring to attention of the public, and if we have a chance.
So what would you like to see done?
There can be a project bond. It should not be an on-demand contractor bond.
So at the end of the life of the project.
There can be a project finance, okay, dedicated to the project. Then the risk shared. Okay, of course, as contractors or consultants, we have our entitlements and also we have our responsibilities, so which we have to follow. There is no, we are not escaping from it. Okay, but the current conditions are very strict.
So in terms of today's conversation, which is about increasing productivity.
Yeah.
You're talking here about the risk and the unfair contract allocations or risk allocations. How would this change productivity? Would it allow contractors to focus on?
First of all, okay, this will change and relax the contractor and suppliers. Okay, so if we start with lowest bid. Okay, I bid the job, and with the lowest bid, I get the award. Okay. And I am already exhausted with the lowest bid. And then if we push more on the bonds, on demand bonds, then I transfer to all the different, let's say, categories behind me, subcontractors, suppliers. You are increasing the stress level of the project. Okay, sure. It will automatically impact the improvements and productivity on site. Definitely. 2 years later, if the contract is 4 years, 2 years later, subcontractor will start I cannot do this one, sorry. Okay, I cannot bring more productive labor. I cannot increase my, let's say, supply chain. This is happening.
Okay.
This is directly impacting us. The productivity is on site.
So we have a comment
Can
here.
I give one example about the productivity? Okay, there is a survey done. Okay, according to the survey, it's very interesting to share in this forum. In the US, for the last 50 years, okay, the productivity of non-agriculture industry labors increased by 153%. Increased 50 years because technology, different type of materials, systems, process.
So this is the manufacturing sector and
manufacture, automotive, health, education. Unfortunately, in construction, it dropped down.
So over the last 15 years,
Yes.
productivity has fallen in construction.
According to even it's stable
And this is in the US.
Yes.
And why has it fallen?
because of the adaptation to technology. We are becoming behind the other sectors. Okay, so and then unfortunately our industry is not very attractive to the young talents. Okay, which I believe the people is very important in our industry. People is everything. You can have the finance, equipment, material, everything, but if you don't have the right people to manage your project, or consultant side, engineering, client side, then it doesn't work.
Okay. Francis, if I can come to you. So is the abundance of cheap labour inhibiting the more widespread adoption of building technologies? So because we have low-cost labour in this region, does that stop people investing in technology?
In some ways, I have a disagreement to that because, well, we have understood that there is abundance of labor, but it is not actually labor which can be utilized in construction projects at the moment. The skill level is drastically lower than what it was some time back. I agree to what he was mentioning.
You think the skill levels are lower?
This is much lower than what it was 10 or 15 years back when it comes to the labor, because the good talent is not coming into the construction business. So whatever is left out is not the skilled one.
Where is the good talent going? It's going
The
into,
good talent is
into
moving
banking,
into
I
other
guess.
industries.
Well, not really.
No, well, it's moving into manufacturing. Is people are going into manufacturing, more organized, more relaxed. Construction is a high risk business, and when it comes to skilled workforce or a skilled engineering resource or a supervision resource, very few people are available, and this is where I think contractors and the stakeholders could invest in. We need to invest in training and a very methodical training and improve this barrier.
So is salaries,
So-
I mean, just higher salaries might make a difference.
I don't think salaries can immediately make a difference. We need to improve the productivity of people. That's only possible through adopting right technologies and the training, continuous training.
It's not only salaries, Richard.
Yeah.
I mean, the market is volatile.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, we try to retain our people as much as we can, and I think we have the highest industry retainage. But however, you rarely find people more than 10 years in a company.
Yeah.
So you lose.
You know, so this is actually what's happening today is the improvement of skill level is a necessity, and companies need to invest on it. And we have invested over the last 20 years. We have been investing in training academies in various parts of the world, like including India and Dubai, and we have realized the benefit of it.
And what about the changing nature? Maybe this is one for Ali, or actually maybe Iyad, for you, with the adoption of BIM or other new technologies, whether it's drones for surveying. There's more data skills needed or more technology skills needed. So is the construction industry perhaps, and I include engineering and design in the term construction industry, is it a little bit behind because we're still focused on engineering design or on putting the managing a project or something? Is it the changing nature of the skills a problem?
I mean, it's changing nature of the skills. I mean, right now in AECOM, we use less CAD people, more BIM people. We use less technician, more engineers. We, less administrative people because we have the ACONIX and the WebPM and et cetera, et cetera.
Is it
It's
quite
changing,
different?
it's changing the demography.
If you're a CAD person, a computer-aided design person,
Yeah.
and is it quite a big step to go to BIM?
It's not. I mean, it's a culture step. I mean, the guy need to know that CAD is not the trend anymore. BIM is the trend. I have to go upgrade my skills. So what we did, we offered a lot of people all those training courses, say upgrade from CAD to BIM, because a lot of them been with us for a long time, and we give them that option. So it's changing the demography. However, with the competition coming, it's not enough.
I think, Richard, the question what I want to add to Yats is, as explained in the project that we are working now in here and in the other regions. Okay, so it's not only the draftman or catman. Okay, when it comes, because the engineering part should be the BIM trained. Okay, so it will take maybe 6 months to 1 year to educate and train one engineer to adapt to his BIM environment. Okay, then start giving production to you.
So I have another question here for you. Yeah, you talked about off-site prefabrication earlier. You mentioned it. So we have a question: how much can technology, prefabrication, etc., impact the resources mix in the contracting business, especially that construction is so how much can adopting? What difference can we make by going to prefabrication?
A lot. I mean, quality is better. Time is better, the control environment is better, logistic is better. I mean, right now we're doing a project in Yas Island, prefabricated villa, talking about 1,000, and you know, the contractor was able to optimize the schedule by almost 20-25% of the time by going to prefab. But that's something we need to, I mean, there's two ways to do it. There's a way that the client, the consultant, plan it this way, back to Ali, how to plan the job. And then there's the contractor coming in the bidding and say, I have more smart idea than what you guys design. Can you let me do it? And we say, by all means, and then it comes. So it's saving a lot.
And just to touch on
waste.
And waste.
And waste.
And
waste.
And overall cost. I mean, but I go back to your point of R&D. If you look at the UK construction segment, 68% of them are investing more and more into R&D to go ahead and enhance products such as prefab. The level of investment in R&D has not really come up in the UAE or the GCC. So it's still looking at, let's cut costs in terms of going ahead and providing the cheapest contract. It's not going to be the cheapest, like you rightly say, but we're not investing in innovation and R&D.
Do you think, you know, in Dubai, I think it was in 2016, they announced a 3D printing strategy for construction, and I think it was to have 25% of buildings constructed using 3D printing by 2030, I think was the target.
True.
Is that what you mean? Is that something different?
Yeah, I mean, that's one, but using other applications such as drones, such as other techniques to lower the cost, because we as a bank, we are getting more and more concerned that the costs are going down because the contractors are bleeding more, rather than using innovation efficiencies to improve the quality of the structures and reduce the costs.
So I find it slightly counterintuitive. We're talking about all this technology and modern thinking and investment in construction, and we seem to be going backwards, less productive in construction. So
well, I think it's not the prefabrication in a way is actually mitigating the risk of shortfall of skill. There is a big shortfall of skill first in the region. There is abundance available, but the skilled one, what you really need in your construction site, is not available. So prefabrication actually is mitigating that. And one thing, what happens is most of the clients want always, by doing all this prefabrication, some saving in the cost, and that's a mindset which has to change. Again, where we start off value. If the customer is getting a value of getting a product delivered much earlier by doing it prefabricated, he should be actually willing to spend a little more on whatever he is.
So you've set this question up perfectly. Somebody is asking, could we have this conversation with lots of regulators and clients in the conversation? They said, because I believe the problem is mainly resulting from the demand side of the construction business.
Absolutely. So if the end user is expecting a certain value and end user is expecting a value addition, he need to be prepared to be spending for that. And that's where people start, the contractors and designers start innovating.
So another related question, what is the incentive for clients? So I mean, maybe Zain, this is for you, but what is the incentive for clients if they're getting very low bids from contractors? What's the incentive to change?
Well, I mean, you know, if you are a low bid without the level of innovation put into the process, the quality of the building will struggle. If the quality of the building struggles, so will the repayment capability of that particular building or project that they're putting in place. And it goes back to the initial conversation we spoke about, the sustainability and viability of the region itself. So we as a lender, of course, we get impacted because our payments get delayed. and the viability of these projects is far worse than we expected it to be.
I think what Iyad told is the value, okay, that you are giving is like the answer to the question, Richard. Okay, so I think the investors, employers, clients, government, before evaluating, okay, they should always look for the end value, what I will get and how I will get.
100%.
Okay.
I have one here, I think for you, Iyad. So it's a for the consultants, why do you never think of the NEC type of contract, so the new engineering contract? Why are we stuck with FIDIC and where everyone knows that it's not suitable form of contract anymore? So I don't know about the difference between NEC and FIDIC and suitability.
I mean, it go back to the risk of the client is wishing to take. I mean, as much as we are, you know, we're front end with the client and we're advising him, but the client, each client have certain appetite for risk. And you can never see a one, I mean, there's very, very few contract which is typical FIDIC or typical C. It's always modified for the client, for whatever the client think is the right thing. But that's go back to the supply and demand, because if there's contractor in the market willing to sign such, happy days for client.
Yeah.
Client is very happy. I think what the market is missing, and I don't know if you guys agree with me, is a proper regulator. The market doesn't have a proper regulator. A regulator who can invent in R&D, who can come with those type of contract, who can educate the market, because it's more or less, you know.
Does that exist in any country?
I'm not. I spent most of my career here, so I cannot answer that. But
I mean, Turkey, do you have a
different type of, like we are one of the few countries start the BOT process in the world. Okay, so with the airport business. But again, I'm coming to my point. It can be tailored, okay?
Customized.
Yeah,
For the region,
customized. Okay, so.
And would you Ali, you said earlier about the productivity survey in the United States. So the problems we're talking about today and some of the solutions, these are industry-wide, globally affecting the industry. It's not just specific to the UAE or to GCC.
Correct, yeah. It's
so
all globally,
This is something that's built into the construction
Just an example,
culture.
but very, let's say, quick. I was last week in Europe for an airport bid. Okay, tried to help my friends there. Okay, so we were talking about with our local partner about finding availability of 200 to 300 MEP skilled workers. So the problem is everywhere, not in the region.
Where was that? That was in Europe?
In Europe, yeah.
Okay, so I have another question. Again, I don't know, but perhaps Ali or perhaps Iyad, it's about FIDIC again. So would an engineer under a FIDIC type of contract or a contract administrator under another type of contract who is paid 50-50 by the contractor employer make a difference to the success of a project in the region?
I mean, it's basically the same answer. It
depends on the project.
It depends on the client appetite for risk here. I don't think one type of contract can suit all.
No, yes, correct.
I mean, and that's a global thing. But it's back to the appetite for the. I mean, I think again, my point is we're missing the education part. The educational part of the industry is not there. I mean, like ourselves or TAV or Mashriq or Shuba, we take leadership as leaders of the market to educate the market.
Okay.
But there's still a gap.
Okay, so we're down to the last 3 minutes of the broadcast. I'm now going to go around each of you for a final sort of a recommendation, and you're not allowed to say the same as somebody else has said. So I want 4 industry recommendations, what we need to do for the construction industry to improve productivity and efficiency in the construction industry in this market. And I'm going to start with you, Ali. What one thing would you like to see? What regulatory change or recommendation?
Well, like we discussed, I think that one of the top issues, more investment and focus on the research and development for the construction industry.
And is that on people or on technology?
I will come to people also. This is about the material, technology, equipment, okay, methodologies. And I think the second issue is about, we didn't discuss today maybe, but it's important about the knowledge transfer, okay, the experience transfer, okay. So we are continuously building and building. ACOM is designing, consulting, and you are investing, but there are many lessons learned. We have to share this within the companies and all the same actors in the construction industry. And my last point is the people. Okay, again, I think this is the most important one. We are all, our business is really based on people. Okay, so I think there should be more focus.
So investment in R&D, investment in knowledge sharing and learning, knowledge transfer, investment in people. So I think you've stolen everybody else's thunder there, but
Sorry for that.
Francis, what recommendation?
Let me give two perspectives from a developer and a client perspective. I think developers have to evolve themselves to to provide more value to the end user or to whom he is serving. This would solve most of the problems because the value chain continues. So somebody has to set the goal that this is the value what I'm going to offer, and I think developers need to set the standards. We have taken these steps forward.
Okay.
From a construction, a contracting perspective, I would say that technology need to be brought in, and there are small things which can be done, and it's being some good players have been doing that, and a lot has to be invested in training. Training is very essential to bring the skill level, knowledge level up in the industry. Once you do that, a lot of things get automatically better, more efficient.
Okay, thank you. Iyad?
A few points. I mean, the guy stole the thunder here, but a few points. I mean, R&D is important. Who would invest in R&D is important.
And so is this R&D particularly from the contractor or from the engineer?
The whole
Supplier,
industry.
contractor.
The whole industry R&D is a missing thing we need to think of.
And if just on very quickly on that point, the reason we're not investing enough in R&D is because of the lowest price bidding culture. Is that correct?
That's one thing. I mean, we're fortunate as a global company is we have a global fund that can do that. But most of the companies in the local market, they have no ability to do such. So that's one thing. The second thing is the regulator again. I mean, we see the government of Dubai pushing BIM as a mandate, which is a good thing. I mean, they pushed sustainability before, now they're pushing BIM. And as the regulator start pushing and standardizing the new technologies in, that's benefiting the whole industry. So I mean, I'm looking for the other government all over the GCC to adapt the same.
Okay, thank you very much. And Zain, last but not least?
I'll just cap it all by saying fast and cheap is not the way forward, value is.
Okay, so excellent. Value is best. That's our new mantra.
It is.
Ali, Francis, Iyad, Zain, thank you very much for your time today, and thank you to all of you for taking part. We've had so many questions and we really appreciate them. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Mashreq for partnering with MEED on these construction discussions. I think that my conclusions are value is best has to replace cheapest is best as our industry mantra, and the focus I think is on investment in R&D, investment in people. We can't just keep cutting costs and hope to improve. Thank you very much for your time. I look forward to seeing you next time on Meet Live. Look out for the emails, and if you have any further questions, you can email me at meed.com, richard.thompson@meed.com, and I can circulate the questions. But thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.